Being misgendered absolutely sucks. It's a really gut-wrenching feeling. It's soul-crushing, it's heartbreaking. Misgendering is one of the most disrespectful things you could ever do to a transgender person. Hi, my name is Jackson, I'm 19, I'm female to male transgender. I started socially transitioning when I was 15 and I started medically transitioning in March 2019. Being misgendered isn't necessarily always a malicious thing, however there are people that do misgender people in a malicious way. So what this means is if somebody knows that somebody is transgender, and whether that's male or female or non-binary, they purposely go out of their way to make sure that they don't say or, validate their identity. For an example, I'm female to male transgender, which means I was born female and I identify as male. So somebody purposely misgendering me and calling me female is maliciously misgendering me. However, people can also misgender accidentally, and an example of this would be that before I transitioned, a lot of people would, think I was male by looking at me, but when I spoke, because my voice was quite high, they'd be like, oh, female, and then they would use female pronouns towards me, which just wasn't, it wasn't right. However, they didn't know me, so when I corrected them, I was like, oh, I'm actually transgender, I use he, him pronouns, they were like, oh, okay. So that's accidental misgendering. Being misgendered absolutely sucks, and that's an understatement of how it actually feels. There is no way to describe what it feels like to a cis person that they'd understand, in my opinion. It's a really gut-wrenching feeling. Even if the person doesn't know you, I remember before I medically transitioned and had a beard and a deep voice, when people misgendered me, it was like being on the worst roller coaster in the world. Like your stomach would just drop and you just feel so down that it really wasn't a nice feeling. And for me, there was that constant anxiety of meeting new people, because I knew in my head, I was like, there's a really big possibility that I'm going to be misgendered because these people don't know me. Especially when I was going for new jobs or just going out to a new social circle. It was really tough. So now I don't get misgendered at all because I have the beard, but if I didn't have the beard, weirdly enough, there's still a chance that people might misgender me. Explaining your gender identity when someone doesn't know your pronouns is difficult if the person isn't educated on the transgender community. And it completely depends on what your gender identity is. I can only speak for, saying what my gender identity is, but for everybody else, it's completely different. Every experience is different, and every explanation is different because everybody identifies in slightly different ways. Whether you identify as male, you could identify in a different way to the way your friend identifies as male, or to the way your brother or your dad identifies as male. Like, everybody's identity is completely unique. Whether you're a cis man and you're just a cis man, you still identify in a way that nobody else identifies ever in the world. It may sound confusing, I know, but trust me, it makes sense. So for me personally, I don't really have to explain my gender identity anymore. Like I said, people see the beard and they're like, male. However, if I was non-binary and I had a beard, it would be a whole different story. But again, I can't speak on that because I don't have that experience and I don't experience that, so you'd have to speak to somebody who experiences it. So what I would recommend is, if I was to explain my gender identity, I would have to explain my pronouns. And educating cis people on pronouns is such a big thing right now, because a lot of cis people, when you ask them, hey, what's your pronouns? And they're not educated on the transgender community, they're like, what do you mean my pronouns? And that's a way I actually spot out people in the transgender community. If I'm at a gay bar, if I'm just in a new social circle, if I'm not sure of somebody's identity and I don't want to misgender somebody, I'll actually ask the whole group, hey, do you mind me asking what your pronouns are? And majority of the time, if somebody says, what do you mean my pronouns? Then I know, okay, they're not part of the transgender community. Or if they just say, they, them, he, him, I just respect that and I'm like, okay, cool, that's your pronouns, I'll make sure I don't get it wrong. A specific Instagram page as well, I definitely recommend if you're someone who is trying to educate yourself on the transgender community. His page is called Pink Mantare, I think. I'll put like the little at there, but yeah, so educational. Like every single day he has a new educational video for the transgender community, just to educate people who aren't a part of the community of how to be respectful, how to learn pronouns, how to just wrap your head around new things, because this is a very new thing for a lot of people, but his page is so helpful. So if you're someone who's struggling just to kind of wrap your head around everything that's going on, his page is super helpful, and there's basically a new video every day. It's super easy when it comes to asking people pronouns. You can literally just walk over and say, hey Jack, do you mind me asking what your pronouns are? And it's simply that easy. It's not like people think it's okay to ask, are you a boy or a girl? It's one of the most disrespectful things you could ever ask somebody, especially somebody in the transgender community, as this can completely invalidate their identity. So the best way to do it is just to say, hey, do you mind me asking what your pronouns are? And that's not disrespectful, it's just you're trying to educate yourself, you're trying to make sure you don't get someone's pronouns wrong, and it's actually really respectful. So if somebody was to try and ask me, and if I had a preferred way, it would just be simply to just come over and ask, like, hey, what's your pronouns? and that's it. It's simply that easy. I don't know if misgendering is starting to decrease. I just know more people are starting to get educated. So a lot more people have started putting their pronouns in their bio to show the transgender community they're like, hey, we're here for you. These are our pronouns. We want to respect yours. We want to respect your identities. And that's really cool. So there's still a lot of transphobia out there, which sucks, I know, but yeah, a lot of people are becoming more educated and kind of fighting against the people who are being hateful towards the community, which is great. So again, I don't know if it's necessarily decreasing, I just know more people are getting educated. Misgendering is one of the most disrespectful things you could ever do to a transgender person, and it's just so unnecessary. Like, the people that I know, we're well aware that transphobia is out there, and I know for a fact people are going to try to say to me, you're going to always be a woman, like, you're female, deal with it, God made you that way, or, you know, you were born that way, stay that way. I'm well used to that, and it doesn't bother me when it's people that are completely out of my life and not important to me that misgender me, because their opinions don't matter to me, you know? But if you're someone who is, you know, a cousin, a brother, a sister, a partner, no matter what it is, and like someone has just come out as transgender to you and you keep saying, well, you know, this is new to me, I can't just see you as male, or I can't just see you as female, or I can't just see you as non-binary, and you keep explicitly calling them the gender that they were assigned at birth, it's heartbreaking. Like, it really is. It's soul crushing, it's heartbreaking. It makes people not want to come home or not want to see you or get anxious around you, and I don't think anybody wants someone close in their life ever feeling that way. So yes, I know it's tough when someone comes out as transgender, especially someone who's close to you. It's a completely different thing. Like, you have to completely switch pronouns, and you know, it's not just a transition for the person transitioning, it's a transition for everybody around them, and every transgender person is aware of that. So just know that you can say to them like, hey, I'm really sorry if I slip up, but I'm gonna try my best. Because whether or not it's a phase, you showing them that I'm here and I support you no matter what is just an amazing thing to do. Just educate yourselves. I don't mean that in like a rude way towards whoever's watching this. It's just, you know, educate yourself on the small things, like even putting your pronouns in your bio. People make it seem like it's this big massive effort, but it's simply just putting, you know, like he, him, they, them, she, her, he, they. It's just a small little bracket on the top of your Instagram or your Twitter or whatever social media that you use. But it's a massive thing for a transgender person to go onto this Instagram profile being like, hey, these pictures are cool, or this person looks like somebody I want to follow, and then you also see that they have their pronouns in their bio showing that they respect the transgender community, and that's just such a safe environment for someone. It's a really cool thing to do, and I suggest you do it. My YouTube channel is Jack's Journey. I've had it since I was about 15 years old. I've been making videos since I was 15, and yeah, it's basically just an educational channel that helps people learn different things about transgender people, the community, and just ways to be a good ally. So that's all from me, and thank you so much, Dent, for having me on.